Hello and welcome back to Rock Cycle. I hope you're having a good day. Now today, for I think the third video in a row, I'm actually filming away from home while I'm travelling. I'm up in Scotland today. In case you're curious, you're probably not. You're probably here just to hear me talk about Reading and Leeds Festival. But yeah, so I'm not going to be able to properly edit this video again. So we're doing it one take, best take. Hopefully I don't fuck up the video too much. Hopefully it's smooth. So just please bear with if there's any awkward pauses or anything today, because I can't really do too much about them because I don't have my laptop, unfortunately. But I thought we got such interesting news today. I didn't want to wait until I'm back home in 3 or 4 days. I wanted to talk about it now because I think I'm quite excited about this, and I'm sure you're pretty excited about it too if you clicked on this video. So yeah, while we've all been feeling a bit lonely and depressed thinking about where you should have been at Reading and Leeds Festival this weekend, seeing Rage Against the Machine, Stormzy, Liam Gallagher having a great time, feeling a bit bummed out that it's been cancelled, and I mean we're also all pretty sad that a lot of people died, but I mean, yeah, oh god, I've already made this dark, that's why I don't do these things live normally, but anyway, we got some very interesting news from Reading and Leeds Festival today. They announced that on Monday we're going to be getting our lineup announced, or at least a big part of our lineup announced for the festival coming around next year. Along with that, we also got an interview from NME with Melvin Benn, who, if you don't know, Melvin Benn is the main guy in charge of running the festival, and he told us some pretty interesting things. I'm just gonna Today I'll run down over the main things he said, we'll have a bit of a chat about those, and then I'm going to go over some of the headliner predictions for next year based off the information we have and also based off my knowledge of the kind of people who play at the festival, my knowledge of who's going to be on tour and all that. So it is all guesses, but I'm just going to say last year when I made this video, the weekend that Reading and Leeds ended, I did put both Liam Gallagher and Stormzy in the thumbnail, so I was fairly accurate with that at least. So anyway, first of all, the main big news that shocked a lot of people is we've got 6 headliners this year. Now, when Leeds Festival was first cancelled, I put out a joke lineup saying, oh, we're not getting a festival this year, we should get 6 headliners to make up for this year, since we're missing 3 this year, 6 next year, double. I thought I was being stupidly optimistic, there's no way they'd ever do that, but it seems we are getting double next year, so twice as much bang for your buck, I guess. But maybe they are a bit weaker than your average headliner for the festival, because it turns out they're all debut headliners. No, this is no returning acts, it's everyone's first time headlining. So yes, you can still have a lot of very big and very talented names, but generally the biggest of the artists have played the festival before, like your Foo Fighters, Kings of Leon. I mean, they're not that big, but Arctic Monkeys, you know what I mean. Like the really big artists have played it before, so we're going to be getting a lot of young, new people, which can still be really good, but they're probably not quite as big. Now, it has been confirmed by Liam Gallagher on Twitter, so maybe take it with a bit of pinch of salt, that he is returning next year for the lineup. So we know 1 of the 6 so far, and Melvin Benn said there was only 1 person returning from last year's lineup as a headliner. So it looks like we won't be getting Rage Against the Machine or Stormzy coming back for next year's. Also mentioned during the interview is that we have 2 main stages, which will be very interesting. I don't know how that's going to be done. I kind of imagine it will just be the Radio 1 stage that's normally there, will just be made a bit bigger and improved, so it'll probably still be 1 main stage and 1 slightly bigger second stage, but bigger than it is now, but probably still not as big as the actual main stage. So I don't really think the festival has the facilities to fit in 2 full-size main stage. You can probably do it in Leeds, where you've got a lot more space in Bramham Park, but in Reading, where you're crammed in the centre of the city, I don't really think they have the space to build a second full-size main stage and have a space for the crowd there, so we'll have to see how that's done. So anyway, that's kind of more or less the roundup of the news. Anyway, let's go on to the headliners that could be there next year. So we know there are artists who haven't headlined a festival before. He didn't say they've never played the festival before, it's just they've never played as a headliner. So we can still assume people who have been there before are coming again. Also going to assume that based on the trends from the past few years of the festival, you've got 3 main categories you're going to fill with your headlines. You're going to have a rapper / grime style artist, you're going to have an indie artist, and you're going to have a rock / heavy / classic rock artist. They're usually the 3 main demographics they fill. So I reckon we're going to have 1 or 2 for at least both of those categories. But I think this year, for the first year ever, they're going to push the boat out and have a full-on, straight-up pop artist, which a lot of people are going to be very pissed about. But I reckon when it's 6 headliners, they're going to get away with putting 1 full-on pop artist, because pop has become a rising part of the demographic of Reading and Leeds Festival, and I think they're trying to get more pop fans going, as we've seen that growing on the lineup for the past few years. but they've been a bit scared to go all the way out, push the boat out and put a pop headliner in, but I think they're going to get away with that now. So let's just go through these quickly. It's about a dozen or so acts I've got nailed. Well, I've narrowed it down to. Again, this is all just my prediction, so take it with a pinch of salt. So first of all, let's look at the rappers. I think the one that is most likely, or maybe not most likely, but most rumoured and most people want to be there is Truffle Scott. He's been rumoured quite a lot for the past couple of years. Now, some people may say he did headline the festival before. I think, was it 2018, where it's him and Fall Out Boy? But there seems to be a bit of debate about whether that did actually count as a co-headline. So it seems to be, from what I've judged from it, that he was treated as a co-headliner, but it seems something in Fall Out Boy's contract was that they were the only headliner that night. They would not co-headline, so officially he wasn't actually. So technically he could get away with this coming back as not as a headline before. He is probably, I guess, maybe the biggest rapper in the world that hasn't come and headlined Reading and Leeds yet. So I think it'd be great to have him. He's insane live. It's a really good show. And Melvin Benn, organiser of Reading and Leeds, really loves him. He's a massive fan of his. So I think it is probably good if he would, well, I think it'd be very enjoyable if he came up back. He had a full-on headline set this time and showed us what he can do, because his live shows are pretty insane. Next up for rappers, I've got Dave. Now, he did play the festival last year. He headlined the Radio 1 stage, but it was ram-packed. But I think he is very popular. He's growing very, 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 very fast. And I think he is working on new music, I've heard. So yeah, he does only have one album, and that is a bit short for a headliner set. But I reckon he could, if he gets new music out before next year, he could probably push it out and do a full headline set, because he's one of the very fastest rising stars in the British rap scene. And to be honest, there aren't that many other big British rappers that you could get to headline the festival. And I think you want some of the British rappers there, because so far I've just mostly had American ones, but I think one of the best things about Reading and Leeds normally is showcase of British talent. So I think we should get some of the British talent up as headliners. And considering we're not having Stormzy there, I guess Dave, maybe to put it very harshly, is the good second best, because Stormzy is generally considered the number one in the UK by most people. Next up, I've got The Weeknd. The Weeknd, I don't know if he quite fits into the kind of rap at Reading and Leeds, but I think he is so popular that might not matter. It's a bit hard to explain, but as Melvin Benn talks about in interviews, he looks for rap that has rock spirit, that still has the sort of aggression and intensity in similar live crowds like you get from Kendrick Lamar and Travis Scott. Whereas the Weeknd's rap seems to be a lot more pop and R&B focused rather than rock focused, or spirited rather than focused, I guess. So I don't know, he hasn't really played that many UK festivals in the past, but his album this year, After Hours, was extremely popular. Lots of people loving it, especially Blinding Lights, the single from that. That was very, very popular. I think that's enough to justify him coming here and headlining. I think a lot of people would really enjoy that. And last for possible rap headliners I thought of is A$AP Rocky. Now, to be honest, I don't know that much about him, but he does have a fairly strong history at the festival. He has played it several times over the years, including headlining the Radio 1 stage, and I think, headlining the Radio 1 extra stage. And the last time he played, I think, was it 2016, I think he played, where he actually only did Reading because he didn't sort out transport between Reading and Leeds, so he just bailed on playing Leeds, which was a bit annoying. We're a bit used to artists doing that up here in Leeds, but hey ho, maybe that's put him in the festival's bad books, so they don't want to bother hiring him again. But I think he's probably smallest out of those four, but I guess they are going to be smaller headliners this year, but I still think he'd definitely get a crowd. I think A$AP Rocky, he's a bit weaker than the normal rap headliners, but I reckon he would get enough of a crowd to justify co-headlining, and he would be quite popular. So now on to the indie acts that could headline the festival, well, co-headline or headline, I don't know. They seem to be referring to them as headliners, but I guess they are kind of really co-headliners. Firstly, I put Catfish in the bottom. I think they've been very popular over the past few years. They've really grown and rocketed in popularity now on their third album, headlining a few mid-sized festivals in the UK this year. And a few people did think they could headline Reading and Leeds. I saw a lot of arguments online on forums and on Twitter about whether they were headliners or sub-headliners. So I guess maybe while they might be a bit weak to outright headline, this could be a perfect chance for them to co-headline. Next up, we've got Cortinas now. This would probably piss a lot of people off if they headlined it. A lot of people don't think Cortinas are big enough. People were very pissed with them for sub-headlining. They didn't think they could. But Festival Republic, as we've seen with Transmit Festival, does think Cortinas are on par with Liam Gallagher. And while by many conventional methods, Cortinas are not that big of a band, if you're looking at terms of Spotify listeners or album sales, they've got a lot more than I've got, but they're not like absolute top tier but they're a band that sells tickets. They're a band that gets a crowd every time they play, even when they've over the past few years, because they've been there semi-regularly. They've always got a massive crowd, not too far off a headliner crowd. So I think they could definitely get away with being bumped from headliner, or from sub-headline to headlining next year, even with no new music out. Even if that, I reckon that would be a very polarising choice, but I could definitely see the festival doing it. Also, who could be doing it, who was meant to be playing the festival this year, is Tudor Cinema Club, but they'll have a bit more justification to be pushed up from special guests playing third down to headliners, because they are currently working on a new album, which I think is going to be, or at least getting some singles from soon, hopefully, because they were started teasing it a while ago, and we haven't really heard anything since. I think if that's popular, that gains them a bit more traction. I think that will definitely be enough to justify them up, put them up onto the headline spot rather than the special guest spot. Last, and by no means least, for, I guess, I'm calling these ones an indie headliner, but I don't really know if you would call them indie exactly, but that's Haim, or Haim, however you want to pronounce it. Maybe you could probably say they're more pop rock, or some people would probably just call them straight up pop. Now, their third album that came out this year, which I cannot remember the name of, was very successful, quite popular. They have played the festival a few times. Last time they played, I think they were headlining the Radio 1 stage. And I think this year they were going to be headlining a few mid-sized UK festivals. But again, with the third album, like a few of these artists, I think that new album has pushed them up a bit and maybe put them on level enough to co-headline the festival. Now onto the more heavy/classic rock artists that could headline the festival. And to be honest, this is one I really struggle to even think of many people who could do that, who haven't already headlined the festival. And I think the most obvious one that I've seen a lot of people talking about is Bring Me the Horizon, one of my personal favourites, because they've been really heavily rumoured for the festival so many years in a row now. Like, they did a secret set back in 2018, they sub-headlined in 2015, and since they sub-headlined, they had a number 2 album, a number 1 album, and they've got 4 short albums coming out this year. So they're definitely, once Corona's going to be over, going to be doing some touring or doing some shows in the UK, almost certainly after releasing all that new music. So it's just whether they're going to be headlining Reading and Leeds, or are they going to be doing a tour. And I think most likely they'll be playing Reading and Leeds, because they do have such a strong history there. And if you're going to have a headliner who's on the heavier side of things, even if you don't really refer to Bring Me the Horizon as purely a heavy band anymore, I think Bring Me are probably the biggest fresh heavy band who hasn't headlined a festival before. And the only other one I thought that could really fit into this category is Royal Blood. Now, these guys were fairly popular when they sub-headlined last year before 1975, which was a bit of an odd combo, but I did enjoy it. Now, yeah, they were very polarised. It seems some people love them and some people hate them live, because the art is very straightforward, guitar and drums. I think they put on a very good show. I really enjoyed them. I think a few people didn't, but they did have a good crowd as sub-headliners. And again, they did tease new music that's coming out at some point, I don't know when. So yeah, with that coming out, I think that could definitely take them from sub-headlining to co-headlining. Because they're on sub-headlining with 2 albums, that's pretty impressive. The third album should be enough to knock it out of the park and certify them as a headliner. And now, yeah, I'm rushing through these, I know. On to the final category, pop. I think we'll only get 1 pop headliner, that's all I could imagine. I don't think we'll be getting more than that at the festival. I mean, we may not be getting any at all, but I just reckon with the direction interrupted by a phone call there, hopefully I found some way of editing this together from my phone, because I'm too lazy to record those other 15 minutes from scratch. So I guess we're going to have to rush through quickly these last few possible artists that could be headlining the festival that are pop artists. First of all, Dua Lipa played the festival a few times, basically the queen of British pop, had a very popular album out this year. I think that's definitely, could see her going from sub-headlining, or she third, I think she's actually third down. I could see her definitely going from third down to headlining. I was surprised, to be honest, she had a crowd big enough to be at the headline level when she played, with only her first album out a couple of years back, 2018 I think, so I could definitely see her. Lewis Capaldi's another one. He was meant to play the festival this year, so maybe again that makes him less likely. And having Lewis Capaldi there when he's already at Transmit again, maybe that's a bit less likely again. So I think he could definitely be there. I think it's a strong chance that we'll see him, but I still think he could maybe be a sub-headliner rather than a headliner. Even though he is very, very popular, he just doesn't really feel like a Reading and Leeds headliner. His kind of music's a bit too slow, a bit too dreary to really... It doesn't have a headline atmosphere to me personally, but that's just based on the kind of music I like and from what, in my experience, makes a good headline act. But I guess if you like him, you like him, and maybe you completely disagree with me on that, and that's completely fine. And but last but by no means least is Billie Eilish. Now, when she played the festival last year, she had what is rumoured to be the largest crowd the festival ever had. I don't think that has been officially confirmed or if it ever will be, but it certainly was a very, very big crowd. And it seems the festival are very keen to get her back. Apparently she was contacted to play the festival again this year as a headliner, but she couldn't do that because she already had touring dates in Asia, so because of the clash she had to not do it. So I could definitely see her coming back to play again next year, because even though she is a pop artist, she's definitely alternative enough to fit in with the alternative side of Reading and Leeds, so she fits in with the festival, but she'll definitely welcome in a lot of people and sell a fuck ton of tickets, which, I mean, at the end of the day, that is what the festival wants to do. So I think those are the artists that haven't headlined a festival but fit the festival well and have new music coming out. I think they're the ones that fit the festival the best. Because we do know it's going to be artists that are having new music out, or at least probably will, because when Melvin Ben was talking about the festival, he talks about this basically wipe the slate clean from last year. Just because you won it last year doesn't mean you're on it this year. You sort of had to be doing something to justify your growth to show that you still belonged on the lineup this year, which I think is pretty good. I think it's far better than festivals like Transmit, where they've just rolled the acts over from a year ago. Because when the artists haven't released music for like almost 2 years at that point, is a bit boring. You want to see someone who's very hot, very popular right now, and who's very relevant. But yeah, after saying all that, when there's 6 headliners, I think this year, more likely than ever, Reading at least is going to throw a complete curveball that no one is predicting. Maybe something like Gorillaz or Florence and the Machine, which I guess a few people are predicting. But I think when you've got 6 headliners, they're far more likely that they'll go risky and go out on someone which they definitely would not normally go out on. So we will have to wait and see on Monday, when I'll probably be doing a reaction lineup reaction live again, hopefully if everything goes well. So yeah, to end this video, I'm going to think what I think my official predictions for the headliners for this year will be. I'm going to say Liam Gallagher, Catfish and the Bottommen, Bring Me the Horizon, Billie Eilish, Dave and Travis Scott is who I'm saying. Let me know who you think is going to headline the festival this year down in the comments. Like, subscribe if you want to, that would be really appreciated as we try and push towards 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.